We have the entirety of human knowledge in our pockets, yet we spend most of our time drowning in a fire hose of angry opinions. The internet handed every person on Earth a microphone. Now, whether the topic is geopolitics, the complexities of epidemiology, or global macroeconomics, we inhabit a culture where everyone acts as a definitive expert, compelled to broadcast a stance at all times. Having a massive volume of data at our fingertips fails to translate into a deep understanding of the world. Viral outrage has taken the place of critical thought, and we find ourselves reacting to whatever triggers the fastest, loudest emotion. We are starving for wisdom while sitting at a table overflowing with information. It is easy to blame our phones for this chaos. However, these behaviors stem from psychological cracks that existed long before the first silicon chip was ever manufactured. 2.5 millennia ago, Socrates observed his fellow citizens eagerly abandoning the search for truth in favor of chasing popular opinions. His observations about human nature were startlingly precise. They describe the exact habits we fall into every time we scroll through a timeline. To find relief from our modern digital exhaustion, we have to look through his ancient lens to see what we have become. In ancient Athens, public debate happened in a physical town square called the Agora. This was the central market where citizens gathered to argue, share news, and shape their society. Today, that physical space has been replaced by the digital timelines of X, Facebook, and TikTok. The scale has changed, but the function remains the same. Socrates spent his life in the Agora, battling the sophists, professional debaters who cared nothing for the truth. They were masters of rhetoric who sold their ability to make any argument sound winning, regardless of its merit. Today's sophists are the digital influencers and recommendation algorithms. Their entire objective is to engineer clickbait and trigger intense emotional reactions, because your engagement generates their profit. Social media platforms are functioning as intended. That overwhelming sense of mental exhaustion is a feature of a system built to capture and monetize your attention. Socrates described the mind as a charioteer pulled by two horses. One is white, representing reason. The dark one is driven by primal desires. Algorithms hyper-stimulate the dark horse with dopamine until the driver loses control completely. Psychologist Erich Fromm argued that this state of mind creates an illusion of freedom. We might believe we are scrolling by choice, but when our impulses are being precisely managed by code, we have effectively surrendered our agency to the algorithm. Beneath the loss of control lies a deeper issue, the dangerous illusion of knowledge. Our culture treats the phrase, "I don't know," as a social failure. To avoid the silence of having no stance, we parrot the views of our chosen digital tribe, convincing ourselves that these aggregated opinions are our own original thoughts. This tendency to hide ignorance is why the Oracle of Delphi, residing in these ancient temples, famously declared Socrates the wisest man in Greece. Socrates realized that mistaking a curated feed for genuine understanding is the highest form of ignorance. Socrates concluded that he was the wisest because he was the only one willing to admit that he knew nothing. He warned that a life without self-examination is not worth living. That examination requires sitting in absolute silence, without a screen to distract you, and honestly confronting your own biases and blind spots. Actively embracing our own lack of answers is the only genuine starting point for true intelligence. Breaking away from this cycle starts with a quiet rebellion. It is the conscious choice to pause, to refuse the urge to instantly react to viral outrage, and to separate cheap entertainment from actual truth. We can practice this by normalizing the use of a simple sentence. I don't know enough about this yet. Real freedom comes from the internal strength to silence external noise and think independently, regardless of how many people can hear you speak. We can choose to step out of the algorithmic herd, or we can remain a willing, unthinking part of the noise.